Right, now I would like to start it on our first month back to school for RUL Wellness Workshops. And today's topic is the certainty of uncertainty. And so the reason of playing Sweet Caroline was to have a little certainty in our lives. And that's important. That's a good thing we can do. So if all of you will go ahead and mute. Please feel comfortable to unmute at any point that you'd like to make a comment or to be able to put something in the chat and be able to monitor that and catch up with your comments. I would love to have some interaction from you as well. So let's get started. What you see on the screen is hopefully a very calming thing. So this power of this thing that I'm going to do for the next about minute will be just something to kind of bring you into the moment. Hopefully you put your phones down, you put your work away, maybe you have a lunch in front of you, something to drink, be able to sit back in your chair and relax a little bit. So what I'm going to do is talk to you about a couple of things about calming. And so as you come into the room and as you get settled, a hand over your heart is a very calming thing for your brain. It'll actually decrease levels that have been running sky high over the past 3 years. And it's able to just help you a little bit when you take those 3 deep breaths in through your nose and out through your mouth. So go ahead and do that. You're sitting back in your chair, your feet are on the ground, hand over your heart, 3 deep breaths in through your nose, out through your mouth. If you can couple that with the green gray of the outdoors, whether it's on the screen or you're able to look out a window, that's a really wonderful thing because again, green gray is a very calming color for your brain and it will assist in calming. The other calming hold is by taking your right hand, putting it under your left arm, pressing on those ribs, taking your left hand up over the shoulder and you're on that muscle that you'd love somebody to come behind you, right, and massage. And you just kind of press into that and that completes the neural pathway and allows you again to bring down that cortisol, take those 3 deep breaths in through your nose, out through your mouth, and be able to settle in. Whichever way you want to hold, this calming hold or hand over the heart, I'd like you to go ahead and do that. Bring to yourself an image that's calming, whether it's what's on the screen or it's something in your house, a picture in front of you on your desk, looking out the window, whatever it is, blue sky. Have that image, hold it, and close your eyes. So that way, all you're doing is listening to my voice and taking these nice deep breaths, right? And what I'd like you to do is think of a time that someone or a beloved pet was kind to you. Allow yourself to feel this kindness and warmth. Imagine this person or this being gazing at you with understanding, kindness, and compassion. Imagine this person or this being wishing you well, possibly saying these words. May you be safe and protected. May you be healthy. May you be held in kindness and compassion. Sit with the feeling just for a couple seconds, like 10 seconds, just sit quietly. Bring where you are, deep breathing. Take one last deep breath, come back to the room and stretch. So put your arms out in front and stretch your back. Arms overhead, grab one wrist, pull to the side, grab the other wrist to the other side. Sit up so your hands can go behind your back and you can open up your chest. Many of us sit very hunched over like a shrimp most of the days, and it's kind of nice to be able to open that up and take that deep breath. All right, so hopefully you're able to join me to do that. And what we'd like to do next is just talk a little bit about what's coming. So we have these workshops that are scheduled every month. This month, we kind of pushed it back a little bit because of the beginning school and classes. Next month will be Wellness Wednesdays. So every Wednesday, you will be able to come in at noon and listen to a panel on a mental health theme. December will be the wellness themes for balance, about financial wellness, about type, just step away from your everyday, either at noon or at 6 o'clock, and join us. And if you can't, we are taping, take advantage of. For today, we want to talk about intolerable uncertainties in your life and thinking about what the impact is on your mental health, learning strategies to increase your tolerance, and then also thinking about what's available here at Rush to help you. Start with definitions. Of course, you know what uncertain is, but maybe just really think about it, because a lot of times we fly through the world and we don't really ponder the thoughts. So if uncertainty is not able to be relied on, not known or definite, not known beyond a doubt, uncertainty, the act of being uncertain.
Teacher.
Feeling an attitude, not knowing trust or trustworthy of someone or something. And it's also a law in quantum mechanics. Just thought I'd throw that in there for you. But just kind of an interesting thing to think about what that all means. Now, if you could take out your phone, and what I'd like you to do is go to menti.com, put in the code that's on your screen. And for those of you who are calling in, the code is 5559-0023. If you're on the screen, you can go ahead and use the QR code. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and shift over to a different screen, but this information will still be there. So it's menti.com, 5559-0023, or use the QR code. All right, I'm going to stop sharing just for a moment. It's nice to see those of you who have faces instead of just names, so thank you for that. And we will move over to, thank you for those of you who are already joining. So the question is, what behavior or emotion do you notice when you're faced with uncertainty? So think about the last time things were uncertain in your life. Maybe this morning, maybe something happened to kind of shift your commute, or a cancellation or an add-on to the patient population or to meetings. And when you were faced with that uncertainty, what is in your body? Do you feel an actual change in your body? So that change in your body might create tension. Yes, definitely. Feel troubled. Yes, maybe like that knot in your gut. Emotions or behaviors that you're finding. The upset. Yes, yes. And this lead to things like anxiety, like fear, like tension. Your heart rate changes. Absolutely, heart rate changes. And the good thing is that you're able to notice the behavior or the emotion that is changing in your body. And just a kind of a is actually a secondary emotion. So under anger could be disappointment, be fear, could be upset. So think about what's under that anger. You mentioned today, they're faced with anxiety, those kind of feelings of what's happening today. Yes, they're out in the news, much in our social and political arena, things that are happening with storms and wars and things that all create that uncertainty, as well as what's happening in the moment. So we can just go to the next question. And some of you already started talking about that. Is there something that's positive that has happened in your day? And the first thing my eyes went to was homemade bacon. Oh my gosh, my mouth is watering and I can smell it. Finishing a project, absolutely. No matter whatever the scope of that project is, it's so important that you acknowledge, you celebrate the finishing of a project, even the finishing of your work. That is so great. During the day, a compliment. Again, no matter how big or small, accept that compliment with gratitude. Thank the person for that compliment. That will allow them to then turn around and feel good about giving the compliment. And if you haven't muted yourself, if you'd please go ahead and do that. I actually hear some kitchen noise, wondering if that's the bacon getting ready. But thank you all for putting all that in there. You know, seeing your family, just seeing smiles. You know, when you're on Zoom calls and all you see is names all day, and you see somebody finally clicks on their camera and you see a smile. That's so great. It feels wonderful. So thank you for all of you who were able to join and add in, and we'll just like let this keep running in case you want to keep adding during the day. All right, so I'm going to go back to our talk. And here we are. Okay. So we want to talk a little bit about framing the why and uncertainty. Your brain has to finish the story and it fears the worst. So if you don't know the answer, you know yourself. If you're driving and you see an accident, your brain makes up a story, right? Of what might have happened. Did their car, were they going too fast? Like what happened? Your brain has to finish the story. And you about the fact that your brain fears the worst. I'll bet when you went past that, you thought, oh my God, had I been 2 minutes earlier, I could have been in that accident, right? Because the strongest emotion known to man is fear. And the oldest and strongest fear is the fear of the unknown. So it's really important to think about how that works for you and what why can be and why we have to finish that story. Certainty is like rocket fuel for worry. Of course, we're going to worry. So I want to just for a moment take you, do a little anatomy here. Amygdala, that's your fight, flight, freeze. That's the thing going to react when something happens. And something uncertain, what it is, you react with that fight, flight, freeze. You jump, you take a breath in, you get anxious, whatever it is, and you react. And so sometimes you might say something, you might do something that's more of a reaction. And what's important about that, you recognize that that's happening to you. So when you do that, check in with your body. When you're feeling that uncertainty and you're being worried, you want to check in to see about reality. Is this real? Is this something I'm really to worry about? And I need to, because it's dangerous, it's an emergency. Or is there something I can do about that to process it and bring my thought into that prefrontal cortex where that's that thinking, reasoning, logic. And that takes about 6 seconds to go from you first heard it, you reacted, you shifted to the prefrontal cortex, so you could be able to think through and have some logic. Now, there's a problem with that, because if there's things that's happening in your life, something as simple as dehydration, 2% of dehydration can slow down that shift from that reaction to that reasoning. Sleeping less than 5 hours a night, definitely. You to do your processing, doesn't allow your brain to file, doesn't allow your eyes and your ears to have the quiet rest, dark that it needs. Other things like conflict is very difficult because we a lot of anticipation, even thinking about something coming up that is will already send your brain into an anxious, uncertain mode, just as it's actually in the conflict. Maybe shifting your thought a little bit about conflict into something using curiosity. Conflict could be different thoughts that could come together to make a new idea. It doesn't have to be a battle. So maybe kind of a little bit can be really helpful. Thinking about your isolation or anxiety, are feeling more comfortable being isolated at home instead of being out with people. And when you are out with people, do you notice the proximity of people and the sounds that you hear are actually exhausting? And that has a lot to do with processing uncertainty in your life. School and work relationships, that will always happen, and being able to know that's going to happen is good. We mentioned earlier about acknowledging your successes. That is so key, that every new thing you come in contact with, you are an experienced novice. You have experience, about situations that are familiar and similar, but you're new to this particular one. And so you want to be able to acknowledge that you successfully got through this experience, and now you're not a novice in it anymore. You're going to take on the next thing. If you're having trouble turning off, that's as well. You want to be able to take off that ID badge, put it away, put it in a spot so you can pick it up tomorrow. You want to signal to yourself you are done with that. Same thing with work and school. When you're on the computer, you want to be able to close down school to let your brain know I'm done, and then move over to your social media, your scanning on your phone, whatever it is. But be able to have a little bit of a split in there. And hopefully, if you're finding yourself turning more to alcohol or drugs, kind of mute some of these feelings, these uncomfortable feelings of uncertainty, that you start to recognize that this is becoming a problem, and you do want to talk to somebody. You do want to think about what you can do differently to change that as the thing that you go to. One is based on prior knowledge, and a lot of times that's in that fight, flight, freeze. You go away to that sounded or felt the same way. And what was the outcome for that? And is it something that you could be open to something new? Or are you going to take that same experience and have that same outcome? The other thing is based on event probability. What is the probability that this thing will happen, whether it's a good thing or a bad thing? And again, we are more prone to worry, more prone to negative things. And so intuitively, you would jump to that negative thing, and it could be based on how probable it is that this bad thing will happen again. And so you want to think about those variants because they do have an impact on you. Now, we can't eliminate uncertainty, right? Because if we could predict the future, but we have to think about the way we make decisions. They do get based on some level of uncertainty because complete knowledge is not possible. So we do want to think about some of the uncertainty that we do have to consider and be able to be more effective in how we do that. If that your uncertainty has increased, you'll probably feel less efficient. But most of the time, we underestimate how good we are in these situations, and sometimes we overestimate what the uncertainty is. And so you do want to be able to allow your brain to kind of act out what it's witnessing and make those predictions, but at the same time, recognize that you want to make sure that it's based in reality and past information. We need that rational thinking. That's so important because we can be wrong either way we look at that. And so we do want to have that rational thinking. Now, it's important that we have this sustained social connections, because isolation is actually going to detract from our ability to have the logic and the reasoning to deal with the uncertainty. And so we want to think about what it means to be human. Just eye contact between humans, human and a dog, or a human and a horse. We release endorphins with that eye contact. So even just eye contact is a person a regular is very important that you get that. Really good to be there because we are all very vulnerable. And our society continues to prioritize things like self-reliance and independence, where we really should be looking at connection and interdependence. That's the more valuable thing that we need to be highlighting at this point in time. It really does look at connecting and interdependence and take advantage of that, because there's so much value in that you can learn so much from each other. And your product, your outcome is going to be so much better because you had input from different walks of life, different experience levels, different knowledge bases. It's just so much better. And so you do want to think about that impact and be able to shift a little bit more to that connecting and see if you can take that challenge and be able to do that. All right. So as humans, we do think about uncertainty and we don't like it. It's like being off balance, right? It can make us feel unsafe. And again, we're naturally inclined to feel the worst when we're not in a place where we know. And so you want to think about a little bit being okay with that. And if you've been in some type of coursework, if you've just started into the university, you can definitely feel the difference and frustrated and I'm just done with this. There's so many people in the workforce that are getting close to retirement age and they are just done and they stop because they are. And it just break and identify that we've all been through this. And even though some of us might look like we're dealing with it very well, we're probably doing that more swan effect where we look calm on the surface and we're paddling like crazy. And so to be able to be okay with flashes up is a good thing. You are enough. You actually took time to be here today. That's great resilience that you could actually build up a little bit on your wellness and be here. But if you're finding that you are continually exhausted, continually feeling the negative of each day, you do want to think about your level of time that get you to this. And that's an important thing. All right, so I mentioned earlier that feeling uncertain, you feel unsafe or off balance, but unpredictable does not mean unsafe. And sometimes we kind of do this to ourselves. So just go along with me for this one. How many of you used your GPS this morning to get to Rush, right? Like you start out in the morning just to see which way to go. I do that too, because I've got two ways I can go. And sometimes the times are very different. So I set up my GPS to take a look at that, see how long it'll take, see what time I'll arrive if I need to do any changes. But then I leave it on and I notice myself checking it. And I think, wait a minute, I know how to get to Rush. I know where I'm going. Why am I doing that? And my brain has this urge to keep checking it. I become dependent on these technologies and what's happening. And if you've read anything from Dr. Gupta, he talks about how our brain becomes so connected to the technology that we are not being able to increase tolerance to uncertainty because of that. And that's just kind of something to think about. For those of you who are connected spiritually, there's so much research about connecting to a bigger purpose, whether you do something in your community, your faith community, that you're able to offer some volunteerism, anything like that is really being able to combat those effects of uncertainty. The ability to look at your ability to cope. The fact that you've done things before, you've been successful, don't underestimate that. And the idea of increasing your own self-care is the way that you increase your global vessel. You have to continue to do that actively in order for you to have that resilience. And how that happens is that recognition of self-care, that you are worth self-care. Because if you provide self-care, then you'll be able to be stronger with resilience and you reach others, and then they, your team, can reach out to the bigger group. And so it's a really important thing that you know that change is going to happen. You do want to be able to increase your resiliency. Don't underestimate your coping ability and definitely connect to a bigger purpose, a bigger power. Okay? Now, when you think about wellness, you want to think about it in body, mind, and spirit. So if you think about your body, and when I asked you to kind of shift into recognizing what happens to you, regularly breathe the best, calm your body. So if you notice that you're tense, you notice your breathing, your heart rate changes, you notice that your shoulders are up, your gut is tight, you want to be able to start with those deep, those 3 deep breaths in through your nose, out through your mouth to the count of 4. If you find that that's still not enough, what you can do is do the calming holds. You can also look away with that 20-20-20 rule. about every 20 minutes, which would be about now, you will be able to look away from the screen about 20 feet for about 20 seconds. It gives your brain a calm reset so that when you come back, you're more focused and you'll be able to complete what you were working on. All right, so that breathing is really important. If you're having trouble still, the Navy SEALs use this dysregulated breathing. So they breathe into the count of 4, hold it, and breathe out to the count of 7. By being asynchronous like that, it distracts you from the emotion, your brain to shift to that prefrontal cortex and be able to focus on what you need. In 90 minutes, you were built upright, you were built to move, so you need to distract from that neuropathway and move. Even if hallway and walk to the window, take a break, those kind of things. Allow your mind to rest. Take those little mind rest. That 20-20 rule is really good to do that. Allow that mind to rest. Allow your mind to play. What they're finding is paper and pencil play is much better for your brain in the long run than computer games. Even though computer games have been built to test your mind, they're still finding that the paper and pencil crossword, Sudoku, whatever it is, writing a thank you note, is ways to allow your mind to rest and to shift. And thinking about gratitude, living with gratitude is so important. Your brain in an MRI lights up blue when you feel gratitude. So writing a thank you note, sending a text with a compliment in it, or even giving a compliment, just one compliment a day will allow you to light up and to feel those endorphins, and it's really good. So each of these 3 things will help you get to increased resilience, and it does increase your ability to have empathy, humility, and even to request assistance or guidance. Be willing to try something that's going to restore your well-being, and that's important. I want you to think about worry right now. Worriers. I want you to acknowledge every time you have something that comes to your head that's a worry, intently acknowledge it. If you can, put time aside to think about worry. More than just 10 and 20 seconds when the worry comes to your mind, more like 5 minutes at the end of a workday or the end of a day that you're able to actually write down what you're worried about. And they could be big worries or little worries, like, boy, if I don't do laundry tomorrow, I'm out of underwear. Okay, that could be on your worry list. Or, environmental concern you have. You can put all those things down. It's the practicing it down that makes a difference. And then what I'd like to challenge you to do is shift to positive screening. If any of you have heard about the 3 good things, if you Google it, it's a thing. And actually think about 3 good things that have happened to you today. And you did a nice job putting up on the screen what those good things were that happened to you. Somebody did mention a compliment, which was really great, or seeing family, seeing people smile. All of those things are able to be positive types of things. So at the end of the day, you would write down 3 things, even if it's just your socks matched, or you found a parking space that wasn't on the roof. Right? So something positive. And if you do it 14 days in a row, you'll find yourself getting into a pattern, and you'll find that you're thinking about it sooner and sooner in your day. And you're teaching yourself to positively scan, because what we naturally do is negative scanning all day long. If only, what ifs, those kinds of things. Even when we take a break, we grab our phone and we scan, right? First thing we do in the morning, we grab our phone and look to see what happened. If we can allow ourselves to have some of that positive scanning, that would make such a big difference in your brain, even long-term in your brain, decreasing inflammation, allowing yourself to calm. Those are all very important things. So we did this already, and I appreciate all of you who did that. What I'd like you to do now is just kind of play with this exercise a little bit and think about the last time you were uncertain or anxious. So I want you to be able to switch the script. So let's say you're on a call with Xfinity or whoever, your company that you have to call. And you're so frustrated. I will not be on put on hold again as you get disconnected, right? And then you have to decide, am I calling back or not? You're feeling tense because of the uncertainty. You don't know if they're going to be able to help you. You don't know how long it's going to be. And what would be helpful is when you first start out, find out how long that wait might be. So then you get to decide what you're going to do. Are you going to be able to call back later? Maybe you're going to go online and put in the request online, or you're going to wait it out and just listen to the music, right? Maybe Sweet Caroline will come on. But either way, you will be okay. I love the ones that say you are third in the queue, or your wait time is approximately 5 minutes, or 2 hours, or whatever it is, but it allows you to make a decision. And that's really good. So you're able to take control of that. For some of you who are going to come up against match week, and you're saying, I'm on pins and needles waiting, I'm worried if I won't get the outcome I'm hoping for, what'll I do if that happens? And you just go out in the future, I'll have to change jobs, I'll have to do this, and you just go on and on and on, and you just are exhausted from all of that. But you know, truly, when it comes up to match week, the decision's made. You just don't know what it is yet, and it's very uncertain for you. So to be able to think through, well, it's hard to sit with the discomfort of not knowing, continually worrying or stressing about the results is not going to change the outcome. But by focusing on things I can control right now, I can manage the discomfort and better manage the stress when it bubbles up. And one of the ways to do that is actually thinking about the what if. What if I don't get the match that I'm looking for? What is my plan B? And so by having this pre-conversation with yourself before it happens, you have a plan B. So if by chance this happens, you already have thought it through, and that stress about the results will not be as overwhelming as you were imagining. I'm going to take a quick stop here and take a look into the thank you about the Zoom. You're only hearing parts of it. But thank you, Peg, about avoiding the negative words in your email. Oh, I really like that. She's saying that instead of saying this isn't possible, you try to say we could potentially do that. Or instead of please don't, maybe you would say it would be better if. Definitely, if you're able to pull that negative out of your discussions, that's definitely something good. And I do apologize about any of the disconnections that we're having with any of the sounds that you're having. So hopefully the distortions are just short time frame, and you'll be able to get back to the discussion quickly. Working on this cognitive reframing, what you want to do is notice your thoughts, and you need to physically do that to notice that, yes, I am worried, or yes, I am kind of going kind of off to one side on this. And then think about what's physically happening in your body, and think about, is it possible that there is something positive that could be the answer? Some of us, when we hear something positive, think, oh, that can't be possible because it didn't happen that way before. What we want to do is stay in the moment and think about a positive answer might be possible. And I appreciate Peg for putting those things in the chat. Thank you so much. You want to alter your perception, not being Pollyanna, but thinking about this challenging situation with curiosity. Look for the benefits in it. What are you learning from it? Those are very important types of things. It's like the power of and, if you've ever gone through that kind of thing. The other thing, the way to help yourself boost that ability to tolerate uncertainty is think about things that you can do that use your 5 senses. It doesn't have to be a time-consuming thing, but it's something that you want to think about. And even if you're sitting still and thinking about, what am I seeing? What am I hearing? If you're eating your lunch or you're munching a little bit, what am I tasting? What am I touching? What am I smelling? The best thing for this, using the 5 senses, is cooking or baking, making soups in the fall. This is a really good way to increase your resilience and your tolerance for uncertainties because you're using all your senses, and that helps you solidly connect. And it's not a hard thing to do, but it's an interesting way to do that. Another way that you can reinforce things is by using sleep noise, or what's called pink noise. It's actually softer than white noise. And the Calm app is one of the things that has that in there. It does that beautifully. There are free parts to that Calm app that you can use. And what you want to do is use that slow wave sleep that will actually improve your recall of facts and events. And that, as students, we absolutely need that. So think about those things and maybe try it on the weekend to see if it works for you. That's a really good thing. Another thing about reinforcing resiliency is that mindfulness, by being in the present moment, noticing 5 things in the room around you right now. You can look around and you can notice 5 things that maybe you didn't notice before. Maybe there's been a picture on the wall that you've never really looked at. Maybe there's a dust web up in the corner that you have to get later. But that's a really important thing. And what we did in the beginning of this talk was a guided meditation and positive affirmations. So those types of things are very easy to do. They don't take a lot of time, and it does bring yourself into the present moment. You want to be able to think about your worry list, take a look at your priorities on the worry list, and maybe even consider crossing something out that is not yours to worry about or you have no control over. And that's important as well. Worry time, we mentioned about trying to do it the same place in your day, in the same space, not in your bed, not in a comfortable chair. You want to be able to confine your worry to a place and time, 5 minutes, write it down on paper, take a look at it, prioritize, maybe pick one thing that you'll try to complete by the end of the week. And that actually can help you, because what happens is if you're worrying, your brain is going to continue to try to fix, right? We said that earlier on. It's going to try to fix it. And so if you go to bed with that worry, that hamster wheel is playing throughout the night. And if you wake up between sleep cycles, maybe at 3:30 in the morning, first thing on your mind is that worry. So you do need to have paper and pencil at your bedside, write it down, allow your brain to know you've got it, and that you'll be able to go back to sleep. If you need to reset yourself, if you've been awake more than 15 minutes, get up, go fold the stuff that's in the dryer, go wash the dishes, whatever it is, and come back to bed. Another thing to think about is some of the routines, because routines are definitely ways to strengthen your tolerance. And so you want to think about your level of anxiety around uncertainty. What is it from 1 to 10? How anxious are you about uncertainty in the world? And ways to decrease the impact. First of all, it's what you do first thing in the morning. Do you grab your phone before you're even out of bed? And maybe even back it up some more. Do you use that for your alarm? And if you do, what I'd like to challenge you a little bit is not to do that. Don't use your phone for your alarm, because what happens is you leave your phone next to your bed, right? And throughout the night, you get messages. Your phone will brighten when that coupon comes from Kohl's or whatever the latest sale is. It won't wake you up necessarily, but it will bring you to the next level of consciousness. And so all night long, you're going up and down. And so no wonder you wake up exhausted, because you never really had a good, impactful sleep. So you wake up in the morning, try not to grab your phone, stretch, go to the restroom, say good morning to people in your household if they're awake yet. Look outside for that calming green gray before you grab the phone and look at the what ifs that happened through the night. Any type of compassion that you can have to yourself, and my bet is you're way more compassionate to your friends and family than you are to yourself. To be able to be compassionate to yourself and think about any challenges you have in your day, and accept the things that might be able to happen for you. Acknowledge the good things. Watch your sugar load throughout the day, because again, that's going to get you on that up and down where you're not going to be able to tolerate things. Washing your face, definitely, to be able to not only kind of wake yourself up, but to clean your face, and also change your pillowcase. How many of you change your pillowcase regularly? And when was the last time you bought yourself a pillow? That might be a really good point to wellness, as well as changing the filter, your air filter in the house. Those kind of things can all help tolerance, believe it or not. Let the light in, as much light as you can have in your house. If you're working from home or if you're in an office, try to get out to the light at some point, so you'd be able to not only take in that vitamin D, but feel that positive things. When you do have things that are uncertain, you want to recognize the stress. I can't stress that enough, that to recognize where that stress is in your body. Try to do some of those breathing exercises we talked about. If you're struggling still, physically look at the big picture. And what I mean by that is take a step backwards so you open up your visual field so you can see the big picture. That is this happening, or is this something that I'm reacting to that happened before and I'm anticipating it? Your rest is very important. Maintain good intentions, even though someone may be upset, maintain that they have good intentions. Focus on one thing at a time. We are not good at multitasking. We really do have to do more like time boxing, where you focus on one thing, set a timer. When that thing's over, then go back to your phone or your emails or whatever you've got to do, but stay on task for 20-minute, 50-minute types of things. And then definitely think about who you could use as a mentor to practice some scenarios that you might find challenging. And I think that's a really important thing, that you're able to talk some things out. Looking back in the chat, being of service, definitely very helpful. To be able to help others accomplish what you both need is a very good feeling. The endorphins are definitely released when you're able to be of service. Saying 3 things that you're grateful for every morning, that is a really good thing instead of grabbing your phone. Thank you, Darcy, for doing that. And yes, Dr. Gamba, be able to change your pillows every 3 months. Oh, that's such a luxury. But yes, definitely wash those pillowcases, switch out your pillows, even throw your pillow in the washer. You won't believe how good that will feel. So thank you for putting those in there. I do want to talk to you for a couple minutes at the end here about the options that you have here at Rush. And for those of you who do not know where the Wellness Center is, it's across the street in the Triangle building on the first floor. So you're able to go to an actual brick and mortar place. This is the conference room that's there. It's a small area, but it was built on philanthropic dollars because they felt that the Center for Clinical Wellness really did need a space. And so we have counseling rooms, we have this meeting room, a lovely welcoming, everything was built for wellness. And so to be able to come in, and most of you in the welcome back lunches and breakfast knew about the energy pod. So this is what it looks like. And yes, there's counseling, coaching, and the energy pod are all housed in this space, and that you are able to access these services free. Let me say that again, free for students, house staff, and employees without a session cap. And so definitely go on to the website. And you would go to Inside Rush/wellness to get to the website, and you'll be able to take a look at these things. And that can even just be something for your wellness to just kind of scan through that the website. The Wellness Center itself is open from 7 to 7, Monday through Friday. Both in-person and video visits are available. And that if you want to just use the QR code, you can get to the website, or again, by going Inside Rush/wellness, you're able to get there. And so you can do it on your days off. If you are physically present, it takes 7 minutes to walk across and come back. When you go to the scheduling, you'll be able to do it online. You'll be able to see each of the counselors. And at the very bottom is the wellness pod. When you open up each counselor, you'll see their times that they're available. And so go down to each one and find a time that works best for you to be able to get started. And maybe the first time it's not the best, most ideal schedule for you, but once you connect with a counselor, you'd be able to work with them and their schedule to be able to do subsequent visits. And again, did I say it was free? Okay. Definitely confidentiality and privacy have been protected. You want to feel good. You want to feel trusting when you come in for any kind of coaching or counseling. So that has definitely been thought about. Both the facility design and the documentation have been protected for your privacy. And so hopefully that's not something that's going to hold you back from getting assistance for what you're challenged with. Now, there are actually 2 options. One is the Center for Clinical Wellness, and that's the 7 through 7, Monday through Friday that I was talking about, online scheduling, unlimited free sessions for the Rush community. All right, so that students, employees, house staff. All right. Then there is also an employee and student assistance program, and you might have seen the posters up. It's organized by ComPsych. It's outside of Rush 24/7, and they do phone scheduling. The difference here is that there's 5 free sessions, and then they go to their long-term provider. The nice, unique thing is that it is available for immediate family members and significant others. So that's kind of a nice perk. That's very unique in your benefit. So definitely look at which option works for you at the moment. And you can always switch. You don't have to stay with one or the other. But definitely know that there are 2 options for you and take advantage. Be proactive. Don't wait till the day before a big event or something that you know will be stressful. Anticipate and be proactive with that. Now, there's another option that we have is the wellness consult pager. So if you don't feel okay and you're struggling to try to find something that might work for you as far as coaching or counseling, to be able to use that pager 852323 to be able to connect with somebody within an hour from the wellness center, find out how you can be assisted in that moment, and then what you might need for the future for your wellness. And so that's just a good thing to have in your back pocket, because even sometimes it could be a colleague, someone else in your group that just might feel very anxious and just might need something in the moment. And so that's important that you have this as well as that 24/7 ComPsych that you can connect with. Most of your leadership now has these flyers that they're able to have at their fingertips to be able to quickly get in touch with the 24/7 pager, or quickly get in touch with the 60-minute response, or ask for a talk to be given to the department or section. And that's always just a very handy thing to be able to have. Also on that wellness website, Inside Rush, there's a lot of things for your own wellness. And it's important that you give yourself a few moments to look at a few of those links, some of the videos, some of the recordings that are there. Also included is all the wellness newsletters. There's a lot of good information in there that still is very pertinent. So you might want to look at some of the interviews that were done, some of the things that might be helpful for you, even in your coursework, it might be of interest to you. So give yourself that luxury to take a few minutes and take a look at that. So Dr. Latif said our values are tested in turmoil, and that's true, that we are actually, once in hot water, you can really see the metal of our tea. And what I'd like you to do, though, is I want you to be proactive about this and give yourself time to discover what we have at Rush to support your sense of meaning and well-being. It's so important that you know why you're here and know when that's not working okay, that you're able to think about what's happening in your body, that you check in on your sleep. Are you moving? Are you getting good nutrition? Are you hydrating? And can you continue this? And if you're finding that you're not able to do that and you have a lot of worry on your mind, more than what your worry list can do, that you do want to schedule some counseling or well-being coaching at the Wellness Center, because you'll be surprised how even 1 to maybe 3 times meeting with a counselor can make such a difference in prioritizing, kind of organizing, setting yourself up for success. All right, so we did talk about several of these pillars of wellness today, and each time we meet each month, we'll be able to hit on another one. Again, we do this twice a month, so you're able to catch it twice, once at noon, once at 6 in the evening, and it's also recorded if that's of interest to you or to any of your colleagues. I want to thank you for joining me. The QR code here is for an evaluation. If you care to send any questions or thoughts, would be helpful. Even if you're thinking about any ideas for talks, I'm always open to something, so that we'll be able to keep things updated and fresh for you. I hope you enjoyed and took away with at least one thing of wellness that you can put in place today, and I look forward to seeing you next month. Have a great day.